Let's go. Hey, everybody. Welcome to another episode of AyAyAyAi.
Hey,
Hey, AI. Thank you, Ruth,
Where
for being here
we are
today.
either super excited about AI or we're just giving up on AI because how complex or
Hmm.
how, unnecessary it is sometimes. Who knows? Who knows whatever the case is
Yeah.
that cuts you down. But either way, we're so excited to have Ruth on the call today. It's middle of the week on a Wednesday. What rather will we talk about rather than AI? Um, thank you, Lucky, and thank you, Ruth, for joining us. Let's get started.
great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so Ruth,
Welcome.
I've known you for a bit over 5 years now, and I've known Lucky for about 2 years now. But let's make some introduction, Ruth. How do you introduce yourself to people that are listening to the podcast?
Yeah. So I am based in Oklahoma City. I've worked in startups for the past 10 years, anything from sales to marketing to finance. And somewhere along that way, I found a love for technology. And the beautiful thing about technology and automation is it really brings every single department together and unifies them. So that landed me. I'm currently a director of sales operations at Motorola Solutions, focusing on enterprise systems, specifically Salesforce as a platform, a little bit of HubSpot, and a few other sales technologies. And I'm on a mission to transform systems and make them as automated as possible. The core goal of what I do is trying to expedite and automate the sales process.
Hmm.
And Lucky.
Yeah, and myself, I help Asif do the podcast. I moonlight as a trainer. I teach cybersecurity, ethical hacking, and I'm trying to learn more about AI. I'm one of those guys that's always loved technology and been on the bleeding edge. And the bleeding edge now is machine language and AI, and I'm growing that knowledge and trying to help others at the same time. And what I do in teaching, and Asif was one of my students, we try to help others transition or grow. And there's nothing like it, and at least being able to have that support where you have one hand wash another, and you don't know what it turns into. And so the relationship between Asif has grown, and here we are on the podcast, and we've been doing this for a good 6 months now. So we look forward to having individuals like yourself provide and teach others what the industry is doing with AI or machine language, or how the world is changing because of AI. And so that's long-winded, but hey, welcome.
Well, speaking of individuals, we are always focused on having a variety of guests, right? And somebody like you, who well, I've spoken to you, and you mentioned your intake into your feedback about AI, and I think it's important that we engage with as many non-AI individuals, right? As many non-AI guests. So that way we can bring that perspective into the table as we discuss, okay, what should we do about AI? How do we design an AI? How do we develop it? How do we deploy it? And how do we deploy it with some ethics behind it, if not the framework of safety and privacy behind it, right? So we want to have those inputs and feedback. And that's why one of our guests was, top level machine learning guy for 30 some years. That conversation one way, because, we just talked about machine learning over and over, how big of a fan we are of machine learning and AI. But then again, we want to find more use cases in this
Hmm.
podcast, right?
Exactly.
Not only for the uh, people that are listening, but also for you, see like, what sort of use cases that we might be able to introduce through some of the pain points that you have in your business, right? I'm sure being in a startup for 10 years and being in the enterprise level for in IT technology and sales, you have tons of pain points to talk about. And that's what you do as a salesperson. You do identify the pain points and try to solve them, give them a solution. So, yeah, we want to be able to discuss these pain points and bring in these non-IT perspectives into the conversation, so that way we can, not only develop a solution to the pain points, but we develop one that is very ethical and has safety, privacy considered and baked into the product, you know?
I love that. And it honestly, it's so relevant to especially sales operations as well, because on the front hand, I know very little about AI and machine learning. The bulk of what I know is through all of these new platforms that are coming
Mhm.
out offering, come get this AI to increase your sales efficiency or embed your data with machine learning. And I would love to better understand that to be more effective. The challenges I've seen in startups, it's easier to go with a platform that is advanced with AI and machine learning. When you're in a massive Fortune 500 company, it's a little more challenging. So finding a way to embed that, I'm very curious to hear your all's thoughts.
Yeah, I think you would appreciate the Elon Musk statement about machine learning. You know, he said 99% of them are BS. And it's true because when you offer a solution that is based on AI, all you have to do is add a .ai at the end, and everybody will say, "Well, there's AI behind it. Wow, that's cool." Right? I think we
Yes.
have had that happen with blockchain. You know, anybody that started speaking, all of a sudden they're dropping blockchain in the conversation. Now, conversation is important. I think that
Mhm.
happened with AI as well. And another statistic is that about in the research in Europe, they said 70% of .ai products that they have in Europe is fake. It just doesn't have any AI behind it at all. The reason they did that is for funding purposes. So the
Mhm.
investors were able to dump money into it because it was .ai. And the investors probably didn't do their due diligence to figure out, is it actually an AI? Because technology could be an AI if you develop that technology into that level, but it doesn't necessarily start off as an AI, right? All this technology evolves into AI if you let it, if you take the proper steps. And there's few steps that are missing in a lot of the AIs that we talk about today.
Yeah.
I don't mean to demean anybody's effort to call their products an AI. Maybe they do have an effort that they're putting in for the future purposes, but in today's present time, they're probably most likely don't have that AI. They don't have that machine learning steps built into it, and I think that's very important. Managing expectation of AI today, so that way you're able to identify what it is that you're looking at today, and how it has the potential of being an actual machine learning AI product in the future, right?
Yeah.
Not only just for investors, but also for a buyer, somebody who's in a procurement office, somebody who's actually engaging with AI services or AI product.
Yeah, that's so important, Asif. And I have a really good example of this and a really bad example of this.
Please.
In
Oh,
sales operations, I'm constantly evaluating platforms to help streamline our sales process. And one of the challenges we had was we're receiving all of these RFP requests from partners, and it's just taking hours for sales team, sales engineering, or technical support, finance, legal to go through and reply to these in a timely manner. So I started evaluating platforms, and there were two different companies I narrowed it down to. Both of them offered this artificial intelligence in terms of a support library of we'll help you populate these RFPs automatically. Company A, and I won't give names here,
please
uh,
stop.
said, yes, we do X, Y, and Z. But when it came to testing, none of that worked. Um, Company B set the stage and said, you know what? The first go around, this isn't going to work. It takes time to build on that AI
Mhm.
and
So,
become smarter and smarter.
so
Uh,
important.
so that managing expectations is enormous for companies focusing on that.
Yeah, I mean, you have to train your model. It takes time to train it, and the more you train it, the you'll notice that um, you'll start to decrease. The percentages will start to decrease when it comes to the model and recognizing, and the more you train it. So it takes time, and that's really impressive. I really it's hard to find really true working AI models, and so the second vendor really seemed like that's an honest response because you really don't know if you'll be able to train the model because it's always going to depend on your data set. And what your data looks like, how long it takes to actually make it to where it's usable. Who knows? But how did it pan out? I mean, how did that work out?
Yeah, we went with the second vendor. It was RFPIO, and they're fantastic. I mean, they set the stage of what to expect, and we are 3 months into using them, and it just gets smarter and smarter every day that we use it.
Keyword,
Wow.
keyword, smarter and smarter, right?
Hmm.
Highly accurate and most confident. That's the definition of how a product can be evaluated, right? It's highly accurate. It's never 99% accurate and stops learning. It's 99% accurate and then learn from that 1% of mistake. And that is a algorithm that comes into play when you see a AI develop for the last 5 months or 5 years. Now you can say, okay, compared to 5 years ago, good example is a Siri or Alexa, they're able to actually do more compared to what they did 5 years ago because they grew, right? So smarter and smarter as the day goes by because they're learning from that 1% of whatever mistake or whatever that unknown information that the system didn't have. All of a sudden, it's learning from that 1%. Necessarily, 1% is not the right number, but at the same time, that's how human brain works, right? We come
Hmm.
to a highly accurate, most confident decisions because we're learning from our decisions as we make those decisions. So we can continually make decisions. And as we do make more decisions, we have predictability that is being built into us. So more decisions we make, our next decisions comes with the predictability because we're connecting that previous decisions with the next level of decision making. And human brains are not just making simple decisions about to procure or not to procure. Human brain could be just that, do we open the car door or not, or do we just stand outside the car and just look at the car? Whatever the case is, it's all decision making. I mean, we have so many predictability built into all of those decisions that we make. It's important that we become smarter and smarter. But uh, I don't want to make a brain jokes here, but at the same time, some people don't want to be smarter, they just want to be smarter as yesterday. But the system has to. That's how it's able to scale and sustain itself with its performance. Um, one of the good example of system that doesn't become smarter is software. Right,
Hmm.
a software gives you a smart solution on day one, just like it does on day 30. But an AI software will give you a better solution on day 30 because that's how you identify what's an AI and what's not.
Hmm.
Right? And if it's an actual AI, let's say I'll give you another run around of that. There's possibility that your system performed day one in certain manner, and then day 30 it performed better because somehow there's some people overseas sitting there providing you with solutions that you're thinking it's an AI actually doing that work. There's a human intelligence. There's a term for it. It's a human Turk. Human Turks sitting somewhere overseas providing you with all sorts of solutions that are instantaneous because it's 24 hours a day. They're providing all the services, working day and night. Um, that's a possibility. And I've heard, I'm not going to say the names again. I heard few technologies that uses to provide answers as a chatbot, right? They call it AI, but actually human beings are responding to all the chats. It's just they have a large scale human availability to provide the service on chat. Software cannot get smarter on day 30, right? But AI should be able to. And one of the ways you know what's the difference between human intelligence that's doing it versus AI is that AI in day 30 can explain itself how it learned what it learned from day one, day two, day three, all the way to day 30. It's able to do an analytics for you to tell you how we will project in day 300, how we
Wow.
will be able to scale up. So it will give you not landmarks, but a benchmark points, right?
Hmm.
To tell you like, okay, these are the sort of things I'm learning. As I'm learning, please correct me and tell me how I can improve it more for, let's say, day 60 and day
Yeah.
90, right?
Hmm.
Explainable AI. If you look up IBM's explainable AI or other groups that are developing explainable AI, that is a must ask question when it comes to an AI product, right? Is your AI explainable, right? I understand human in the loop. That could be a bad thing, but that could be also a good thing. Human in the loop is okay. Like if there's a human involved to help the AI to do the work, that's okay, but up to a level, right? But explainable AI will be able to actually explain to you what sort of data, what sort of matrix, what sort of input and
Hmm.
information to look into in order to come to that decision making. So that way you are smarter than yesterday.
Yeah.
I should be able to explain that. So I'm going to stop right there. I know I got a little too excited when you said smarter than yesterday, but I'll
No,
try
no,
to be
no.
smarter.
No, isn't that's believed that's called neural scaling laws, right? For the most part, if you train your AI, the AI starts to develop a neural scaling method for being able to decrease the error rate. And
That's what's looking for. Yep.
and without getting super nerdy, without going that direction, um, I think there's a lot of opportunity in AI, and I think we can look at it from the creative side, or we can look at it from the nerd side. You have scholars out there that are always, scholars and writers. They have a unique creative perspective of AI, and us nerds, we have like a realistic, because we have to write it and create it and make it, or we have to work with it. And so a big thing, or a lot of what we do, is as humans, is we'd like to see, we'd like to create and be innovative, and so the way I see is there's a lot of opportunity for AI, but AI is just right now is just a buzzword. I think that a lot of what we do needs to be realistic, and a lot of it is we still have to learn how to get machine learning and training these little models to become more AI like, but it's a long road. And so when I hear people talk about AI, even at where I work for the VA. I didn't mention that. That's where in the Department of Veteran Affairs. They the government has an idea. They said, "Hey, we're trying to figure out who's really using AI. What are you guys doing?" And they reached out to all the different agencies and asking them, "What are you doing?" And it puts them in a position to say, "Hey, we have AI programs. We want funding. We got to figure out how to become AI." Like we talked about earlier, people try to get funding, and these programs are not really AI. They're just trying to get the funding for it. So I think we're a long way from AI, but there's certain cases where it's real. You have real inputs, outputs. You have a real neural network, and that's where I get curious. Like, what is that? Where is that really working? And so, a lot of what you're talking about, I'm interested in, because I want to see how that develops over time. Because to have a real AI and something competitive and something that you grew, I mean, that's something to not to brag about, but that's something to I'm in awe. I want to see it.
Yeah.
I'm the nerd. I want to press the buttons and see how it works.
Press the button and break it and see how it works.
Yeah,
Yeah.
well, there's nothing wrong with that. But scholars, there was this one article from, and you guys have both, we had conversation, just let the truth be let out, that we talk, of course, but you guys have both been to South Korea, right? Right? Yeah.
Yes.
There was a scholar, I think Kim Song Koon. He was an English professor that just went to Dartmouth, and he had a conversation about AI. This is an English professor now. He's not an AI scientist, he's not in the field, but he's really, speaking out for AI. He's saying, basically there's a lot of opportunity, but what do we know as humans? What do we tend to do always with things that we create? We create monsters like Frankenstein, right? Nothing good can come of what we create. And that's where I think there's, like, you get into these areas, like, and you guys, I'm not sure if we can't say names or say names, so I'm just going to stay away from the ooh. And there's a large percentage, like the chat bots they've created, that they feel that have become, sentinel.
That's
That
right.
is interesting. What exactly did he teach it to become sentinel, or is it just a reflection of himself? Because I think at the end of the day, all our AIs are a reflection of our data.
That's right.
you know they do only what we teach them. So that AI model, is it just a reflection of the guy, and that's why he's so impressed by it, because he's seeing himself? Who knows? But there's a lot. I thought the professor had some interesting things to say, and that was, for the most part, that we create, and what we create in some cases is not always what we plan to create.
Right.
you know and so what is AI going to be for a creative, a writer, a scholar? They have this picture of AI beings like Skynet,
Right.
and it's not the reality. AI's, we're not there yet, and I'm really curious. I'm excited to see when it becomes real. When we see more AI and seeing your program grow. That's just an example. Those are all small examples. Just and how that develops eventually is going to become a neural net, and that's going to be a true AI. When something's managing the streets, almost like what was it? iRobot. You guys remember iRobot?
Yes.
Will Smith. Will Smith
I'm
at the
trying
end.
to think of the movie that it sounded like what you were talking about. I
Yeah,
robot.
iRobot. Yeah, iRobot. He had at the end he had to take down the central net. That is an AI neural net. They have multiple arms like a forest of knowledge. That's an real AI. One day we'll get there. And that's
Yeah.
long-winded to say that, at the end there's a lot of opportunity in AI, but we're just now on the precipice. We're like taking the first few steps up with machine language. And that's where I think we gain the most right now with your projects, with clustering and identifying areas of opportunity using data and machine learning. That's the big opportunity now, I think. And that's where, if you can, you grow that in our environments. I'm looking to grow that too. So I mean, I'm with you in the same boat. I'm trying to grow machine learning and trying to take advantage of it. But you're way more ahead of me because you have what they call an MSP, right? A service provider helping you, the
Hmm.
company. I'm trying to like wire things together with my fingers. Asif and I are like talking every day, trying to figure this stuff out. But it's fantastic that even at the sales level that you guys are taking advantage of machine learning.
Well, my experience is certainly the front end, not the back end, trying to wire things together. It's an important note you
Yeah.
made, though, Lucky, that I think you can go the extreme route of it's going to just become a reflection and go the iRobot route, or it can have the opposite effect and have massive results for individuals and
Hmm.
organizations.
Mhm.
Talk about the machine learning alone replacing just low level decision making,
That's
Hmm.
right.
where you could be spending your time on more valuable things, creating more valuable things. So that part of AI and machine learning is really beautiful.
Hmm.
If we can focus
Yeah.
and get there without having any consequences, we'll leave that to the future.
That's that repeatable, right? That low level decision making. That's repeatable,
Hmm.
redundant process. It's
Exactly.
super important because once you build those small models, those tiny models that I call boring AI, right? AI that iRobot brings to the table is that, oh, shining thing on top of the mountain. But what's in the valley is a bunch of these small use cases that are repeatable, redundant, and some cases dangerous, right?
Hmm.
We want to be able to do those with machine learning because if machine does it, that means it gives us more free time to do other things. So you're in sales, of course. The reason you have AI is so that you don't have to do this redundant process of
Yeah.
scheduling, making calls and scheduling those calls, and or having like information data entry being made by 10 fingers. If a machine can do it, let the machine enter those data. Take notes in the meeting, right? Instead of me writing things down, use a transcript to capture what's being talked about in the meeting, and then take that transcript and give me data entry so that way I can follow up. I can do better sales. I can focus more on my sales rather than doing administrative work for my sales, right? So the repeatable, redundant process, if machine can do it, let the machine do it. But those are very important because if you have multiple machine learning models and you are able to bring those models together to take over a bigger task, you will. And that's how you get to the bigger task. That's how. So let's talk about the evolution of where we're trying to get to, right? That I Robot and machine learning and Will Smith, where Will Smith is slapping the robots and robots are slapping the machine. Will Smith, funny scenario, right? It's in my head. I'm playing it out. But if you think about it, it's an evolution. Like if AI was anything that is real, it should be called matrix manipulation. And the reason it's not called matrix manipulation is people here they're like, get out of the room. I have no interest in talking to you. The hell's a matrix manipulation, right? Okay, another word is data manipulation, but matrix manipulation has been around for a long time. So has AI, because AI as a term has been used multiple times since 1950s, where um, oh my God, I'm Ellen Turing. Ellen Turing brought up AI a few times, and that's how it got popularized because we actually beat the German in World War II using some of the encryption that is, translating this encryption, sort of like what we use today for artificial intelligence purposes, right? These technology has been around for so long that we label them in so many ways, so many times that in translation things are getting lost, right? So some people call it the matrix manipulation, somebody calls it data manipulations. Now they're like, oh, it's just the AI and robot that's taking over people's job. Well, not really. It's still always been the same thing. It's data that's being crunched by a system, and the system is able to provide an insight that we didn't have before, right?
Yes.
So if you go back to that 70 years ago when Alan Turing was cracking the codes in German, he was finding out where the ship routes are, where the cars are. I mean, cars, my bad. Vehicles that are in
Vehicles.
combat, where are they located at,
Hmm.
where the ships are at, where the attacks are coming from, right? These are sort of like data manipulations that they did in order to find insights and information.
Yeah.
So now you keep finding insights and information, you have to take an action. And those actions is those little machine learning models that you build,
Hmm.
right? So there's a steps into all this process. So even though it's been around for 70 years and your organization wants to start with AI today, they have to go through that whole process all over again. You have to
Yeah.
figure out, okay, where's your data? How do you manipulate this data? Which is manipulating those data to give you insights. So you're doing data analytics to figure out, look, okay,
Hmm.
this guy sells more than this guy, but they're actually same level talented. How come this guy doesn't do that much sales? Okay, what's going on? Show me that outlier. Show me that anomaly that tells me
Yeah.
why this person is not selling as much, right? So that those little data analytics turns into machine learning. And the point we're in today, with all of the data that we have available, all the ways we collect data, is that we're ready to evolve away from data analytics and predictive analytics into machine learning,
Hmm.
which is to let the system pick up some of the tasks using the same data that we've been collecting for the system, right? So your second vendor who explained to you that, hey, it will take some time, is the reason that they will have to find those data that is specific to your business process, right? Their business process is to sell you a platform, but your business process has data that they don't have. So they will bring in their algorithms to your house and then, or your organization, and then let the data work itself out. And over time, the algorithms will learn how to manipulate the data that you have, either it's dirty data or clean data, structured or unstructured, however you label it. It goes to a time period where it says, like, teach me, right? I will give you high accuracy over time, but I will start with lots of high errors, right?
Hmm.
And as you decrease those errors, your accuracy becomes higher. And now you're able to say, look, I sell this product and I need you to schedule my product this way, right? So when I speak to people, I have all these formulas behind it that a simple coding cannot do, right?
Hmm.
We have done coding and programming for a long, long time. We'll still use that, but we add data on top of that and use algorithms to figure out, okay, every time me and Ruth talk on the Zoom call or these web video calls, this is an unstructured data. How can an AI capture that and turn that transcript into something usable for the future? So that way, as me and Ruth are discussing, Ruth as a salesperson will be able to follow up with me and not confuse me by, not having the right information, because Ruth has to never take notes. AI does the note taking. AI transcribes it, and then AI gives the formula of saying, okay, this Asif would like to be contacted at this time this month, right? Because Ruth asked me that question, Ruth never followed up with me. Doesn't have to, because if I'm correct, Ruth, tell me, like, about 4 hours out of 8 hours a salesperson works, they do about 50% of that 8 hours on admin work, right? They're
Yes.
not actually making
Yeah.
phone calls and actually engaging, right?
Hmm.
So if
Yes.
you're engaging, let's say, 30 minutes every hour and not even doing admin work, how relaxed will a salesperson be for the whole 8 hours, and your ability to retain that salesperson because he's not looking to go somewhere else for a better experience? Could be like a least stressed salesperson that's doing more phone calls throughout the day, more engagement, and least amount of admin work
Yeah.
because he's busy and improving his sales skills rather
Mhm.
than to say, I need to figure out how to do better KPIs for my manager.
Mhm.
I'll
Yes.
stop right there. I know I went in kind of in a
No, no,
not
huge
there.
benefits, not only for the sales rep, but for their team, for the company, the
That's right.
increased productivity, the increased amount of sales or time to sell. It's huge.
Mhm.
So I absolutely agree on that front. I'm curious, do you think we will ever get to a state with AI and machine learning where vendors who offer these with their products can have it work immediately instead of having to wait for longer results?
Oh,
I
absolutely. Absolutely.
Mhm.
Because the data sets that we don't have currently available. So
Mhm.
let's say, for example, who's going to be successful? The people that are doing AI today, not somebody who started AI 5 years from now. Because for the
Mhm.
next 5 years, this company that you're working with right now, they have you as a customer. They have 500 other customers. So now they have 501 different data set
Mm,
from, let's say, 5 different industry. They can provide that service for next 5 years and collect all the data that they need. By the way, with data privacy in mind, they're not stealing your data. They're just taking an insight from your data, which is the metadata, or which is that information that they need without taking your data, and say, now, if anybody wants to train their data using this 501 data set, they'll be able to train that data very fast and very quick, very rapidly. It's very possible. I think that's the whole goal
Mhm.
of getting into AI early rather than getting into AI later.
I love that.
Because when you have a software that you can buy off the shelf and use it the next day, that's why softwares are widely available. But 5 years from now, AI is going to be so highly available, just like it is available today for, say, data purposes. You don't have a data, go knock on somebody's door. They will sell you data. They will lease you data. They will actually rent you data, right? It's happening already. It's just that what you're asking for right now is not possible today because that system
Mhm.
hasn't gone through that much data set yet. We
Yeah.
have the data sets available. It's just that one system hasn't gone through all this training yet. And once it does, 5 years later, you'll say, like, I've seen that data before. Don't even worry about it, Ruth. I'll figure it out. And the
Yeah.
system is able to perform the next day without really that much of a training or assistance from you.
Exactly, and that I mean, going back to the neural scaling laws, that's the basic fundamental principle that all machine learning and AI uses now, and they learn by cycles. As many times as you run it, then it slowly decreases the gap and reduces the percentages of errors. But to answer your question, they've already started to kind of revolutionize that to the next level. They've gone from what they call neural scaling to this new thing that they're developing called data neural pruning, or
Right.
not, and it's data pruning for the most part. So what it does, it takes your data and it clusters it. Any outliers, the algorithm cuts those outliers, called it data pruning, and they reduce the amount of time it takes to get to that same percentage, and sometimes in half what they've seen now. So over time, they'll develop methods to improve that learning curve for the AI, and it's already starting. So that we're on the first iteration of what we call the neural scaling laws, and then now they're taking it a level up. And I think it's just a matter of time. We've talked about this in other podcasts where I talk about AI now. We're in the very beginning. I said that before, but I think we're about 3 years, 3 years before it's just common, knowledge, and all the vendors, everybody's got their AI spiel, and they've got it. Everybody's marketing their own AI, and the reality is being to separate
True
who's
AI.
real, huh?
True AI. Another fake AI.
Exactly, who's real? Exactly, who's real? But yeah, they're working on reducing that learning curve already, and there's a lot of methods to doing that. And some of it is using what they call data clustering and pattern recognition, which is two models they currently use. They're just combining them.
So can we talk about that a little bit more? I am seeing that initial um, where vendors are starting to have AI and machine learning
Hmm.
in these sales calls I'm in.
Hmm.
And it's a challenge for me to understand, what should I be asking? What are those important qualifiers for
Right.
that true AI or
Hmm.
real AI?
I would say, look, like we talked about labeling, right?
Hmm.
Matrix manipulation, artificial intelligence, deep learning, machine learning. All these words are jumbled for like you don't have clean data, so you're just making up a bunch of things, right? You're like hoping for those things will come reality. But
Hmm.
in order to get to that piece, like of saying you collect the data and you clean those data up and then you structure them finely or prune them so that way the algorithms can read them faster and easily, and then algorithm will provide you with an input. So if the garbage goes in, or garbage will come out, right?
Hmm.
Whatever you feed into the algorithm, that's the garbage that will come out. So if you want a clean set of performance, right? So let's say, for example, in sales, you have a calendar that has AI inside of it, right? So that calendar is isolated, doesn't really talk to anything inside of your computer. But a calendar that is able to say, like, I listen to everything that's going on inside of your laptop, which Siri does.
Uh-huh.
Siri and the iPhone has this technology built into it. So Siri listens to your text message, your I mean, of course, it's managing a calendar. Of course, you talk to it like, hey, do something for me. It's able to put things on the calendar for you. It's checking your web browsing histories and so on and so forth. It's keeping tabs on all these things that are unique to you because you like it, right? So as Ruth gets into the laptop and the calendar AI is able to say, like, Ruth, you just got off the Zoom call and you're able to, you want to make an appointment for this guy because some other AI system transcribed that conversation for you with high accuracy, by the way, because a lot of the transcript doesn't really pick up on some of the words like my name is Steve. It's not Steve, it's Asif. but and how do you distinguish that? Like, well, if a system like calendar.ai is able to perform to the level of your need, it's going to have to go through that process of understanding you as a person first, right? So let's say, for example, you're buying an industry specific AI. It should be able to do what it is that you do on a daily basis, which is not something specific to you but broad in general, as in what does all the other sales teams do, right?
Hmm.
It's sales team specific. So when you buy an AI today, I would say that AI is probably good that you buy it from a sales specific AI team, right? And the reason that is because in current day we have narrow AI, right? It focuses on narrow tasks and does narrow things with narrow specific data set, right? As in, it doesn't have data set about entertainment industry. It has data about sales industry. It doesn't have data about medicine. It has information about, say, food industry, right? So the narrow AI is able to perform based on its task and the data set it has been trained on. And if you are trying to verify how it works for you and if it's a true AI or not,
Hmm.
you have to ask them these type of questions, right? Like, okay, what sort of training did you guys do? What data set did you guys use to train that system on, right? Or is it some humans that are sitting in Bangalore, India, typing away all the information I need? Because I can do that. I can do a virtual assistant that lives overseas and does all this monitoring for me and does all the work that I need without me ever pressing a key, right? So you have to ask these questions about, like, okay, what data set did you train it on, and what industry specific is it? Because AI that works for entertainment industry, believe it or not, can work for any industry as possible because it's all data based, right? There's no
Hmm.
industry that's sitting out there like, yeah, we don't use data. Well, if you use data, you can build an AI. So your AI could be built for any industry possible, but your data set, right? The specific data set that you train the AI on, you have to ask that question. What was it trained on and how does it perform? And how does it scale and sustain itself over time is another point of question. Because if you buy it, yes, you bought it. Day one, it works fine. Day 365, it works fine. But after a while, you just realize, like, it did not scale up to the level it should have. At day 366, you don't even know it exists anymore. You just let it go, like one of those software that you bought that you never use again, right? Um, and I think I'm giving you the high level perspective on understanding of what AI is, but the key to take away is, like, is how does it sustain itself and how does it scale itself? Because just because my English is falling apart, just because I bought a calendar AI does not mean it's just limited to putting things on my schedule and not realizing, like, I'm changing as a person.
Hmm.
right? My demands, my interaction with customers are changing. It's evolving to the point that we're discussing different things. I'm taking on different roles, right? So this AI is not really collecting data and using it for smarter and smarter purposes, but it's rather sticking to the original goal that I had on day one, which is to say, like, put things on my calendar and just remind me what it does, or
Yes.
remind me what days due, right? So
Yes.
scalability and sustainability of that AI, I would say, would be my first question on your level. Now, if I was going in deep, then we're talking about, like, all right, dude, how can somebody poison my data? How can somebody sabotage that data? Tell me about that. That's what I'll tell them. Like, I don't care about your AI being sustainable. Tell me, how can somebody poison my training data set to make it look like I'm an evil guy,
Yeah.
right? Sabotage me with deep fakes, whatever the case is. But we'll stop right there.
No, that's a really good perspective. The scalability is important.
Right.
Right now, I'm evaluating different platforms for a solution for customer master management, meaning we have these account records or company records across multiple systems, and they may or may not sync with each other or tie to each other. So I'm trying to find a platform that deduplicates accounts. There's a
Oh.
lot of different platforms out there claiming we have AI, but as soon as I get on a call, it's like the AI
Hmm.
has matched accounts, but I have to go in and still confirm, yes, this is true or not. And there's no scalability beyond that. I will always have to go in and confirm yes or no.
So AI will perform very well if you feed it data from history,
Yeah,
right?
from
So we're talking
history.
about
Yeah.
historical records right now, right? Those are
Mhm.
historical
The
truths
past
that you
decisions.
have. Yeah, it will do excellent. It's just that the challenge is, how do you scale it and how do you sustain it over time? Because sustaining means there's more data that needs to be fed, more training that needs to happen. And how do you train a system that sitting on your system, but it's not allowed to be trained outside of the system? Right? So there's a whole lot of complexity, because you don't want a system that is coming from outside to be inside of your network, right? So how it's trained is a different type of question. So when you ask a question that is like, why is your product so cheap, right? It's because they don't have much security actually built into their product, right? It's everybody to use. If you get hacked, it's up to you. It's your responsibility. But then again, the product is very expensive when they talk about, yeah, it's an AI, but it's also very secure, and we, of course, charge more because of that secure system. I'm not going to go into security, because me and Lucky can talk about security incidents
Yeah.
all long. But the point is, that ability to sustain the historical data and add new data to that is very important question as well, right? So you brought up historical accounts that you have. Those historical data will make an AI do all sorts of jumping jacks. At the end, it will just get tired at the end of the day and never do a work for the rest of its existence.
Mhm.
Hmm. Well, just okay. So we're talking about machine learning and AI, but you said something that's outside of that a little bit with the deduplication, because I know that AWS, Amazon, eh, they have a deduplication um, process API for compressing stored data
Hmm.
to reduce the cost and the overhead of storing duplicate data in the cloud. So I know AWS already has an algorithm for deduplication of database tables, and I don't think that's a stretch to have them apply that API to something that you're not going to store, you're just going to use.
That would
Ooh,
be interesting.
ooh, we are getting into something very interesting
You
topic,
know?
because when you develop an AI for yourself, or that AI you tailor to your work, is far better than
Mhm.
structuring your data. And listen, I think I'm going to get a lot of pushback from people that are listening. They'll say, like, no, 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 you got to structure the data.
Yeah.
Like, how about we fix the AI so it structures the data for you? So instead of 6 months, it does everything in 3 months or 6 days. I'm just saying.
Mhm. Yeah.
What if the algorithm is that powerful that it can structure the data? So let's see what happens with AWS is that AWS will provide you, again, you can lease an algorithm, you can rent an algorithm, or you can buy an algorithm, or you can build an algorithm for yourself,
Mhm.
right? If you build an algorithm for yourself, what that does is that it gives you a business process knowledge unlike anybody else. So the competitive edge that comes into play, and I am not making this up. This is happening real time. Tesla versus Ford. Ford doesn't have algorithm. Tesla does, and Tesla algorithm is bottom to top all Tesla.
Mm-hmm.
Didn't have to go out and buy from anybody, right?
Yeah.
Tesla algorithm. BlackRock hedge fund, $11 trillion in assets versus JP Morgan Chase and Goldman Sachs combined 5 trillion. Difference is BlackRock has their own AI that they built 30 years ago. It's called Aladdin, right? So the comparison of
Wow.
having your own AI that you develop for yourself is far more effective because that's your child that you are raising in house,
Mm-hmm.
right? And you're able to build more algorithms on top of that, unlike anything else, because it's all within your network, secured, first of all, and it's built with your business process knowledge. Rather than say, somebody thinks this is how business process goes in Motorola, I'm going to go ahead and build something for Motorola. Well, they are wrong because they don't live your life day to day basis, right? So when you develop an algorithm that is very built in house, or the other option is that you get an algorithm that is already working, but you tailor it to yourself. And then you do the algorithm to do all the tasks that you need to do. Because when you are an organization, you don't have just sales. There's other two components, right? Product development and administrative, right? If you're developing an AI for sales purposes, can you develop an algorithm for administrative purposes? Product product purposes, like research and development, or making products, manufacturing products, whatever the case is. You can do that, and I can guarantee, I know about Motorola solutions. You guys have cameras that are AI cameras. You have
We
AI
do.
products. All you have to do is convert that AI that you already have in-house built and start transforming it to your business process need.
Mm-hmm.
um, I know it's saying a lot, like, who has the time to do that? But at the same time, I cannot stop talking about the fact that this is not about today. This is 5 years down the road. How
Mm-hmm.
do you become relevant like Netflix and Tesla, right? Because they built that AI system within their business process, rather than saying, I'm going to push this AI into my business process. They're like, no, I'm going to build that AI and build a business process around
Mm-hmm.
it, right? Success case, this point and concept works, I think, phenomenally, right? Because once you build one single algorithm, you can build multiple other algorithms on top of that. And they're all interrelated. So they're always feeding off each other's data. And remember that. If you have lots of small sets of data, you want to be building other models on top of those models, right? And that's how you build an actual artificial intelligence rather than a narrow AI, right?
Mm-hmm.
It can provide service to your sales team. It can work with the administration team. I mean, what is it called? Administrative team, and then your product team, right? You develop a product, administrators take care of it, and sales team sells it, right? Build it for everybody. Um, but yeah, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, yeah, and I agree with them. It's tough for someone from the outside, and we get this all the time. Someone
Right.
from the outside know that it can give you something
Government
that's going to
does
help
that.
you and solve all your problems.
Yeah.
You know, typically you have to grow something, and then I don't know. I mean, Salesforce is great. I know they've done a great job, and before then, we use them, and a lot of the different um, a lot of different people use Salesforce for help desk, and it works great. It does give you a constrained interface, though. You don't ever have something that feels like it's completely yours. You're just having to retrofit what you have to it, and in a lot of cases, you have to change your business processes and the way you do business. In some cases, I've done the same, but at the end, it does work out for you. It's not a stretch, and so either way. But I I I'd be really leery of people showing up to me right now saying they have it figured out. If they say they have it figured out, I think you should be able to see past that. They're probably lying, and it's going to cost a lot of people are, putting a lot they're donating a lot of money to the effort of AI, but there's not a lot of real, positive outcomes. But yeah, I just don't see true AI. Like, for example, there's another vendor. Um, it's a SIM vendor. A SIM handles all events for nerds, like all the devices on your network, if they're up or down. So this vendor is a very popular a SIM, and they're claiming AI, and and you talk to anyone that works with the vendor or anyone that, and they're just claiming it. All they're really doing, they've got some advanced machine language, and so there's a fine line between what AI is and then just they're trying to develop small machine language areas to take advantage of certain niches in the market, and that's okay too. But you have to really figure out, is it AI or is it just a little bit of machine language just trying to fix some small gaps? Because the big promise of AI, it's like pie in the sky right now. I don't see it being true.
And what does that E on SIEM stand for? It stands for security incident, what, event manager?
Yeah, event manager.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so security incident event manager. And
Yeah.
security
So.
incident event manager is a powerful tool because it has all sorts of data that you don't even need to worry about collecting data.
Hmm.
It has all sorts of data. I love how people don't know about SIEM. Like, I think Lucky brought it up at one point. It was like, bam, nobody
Yeah.
knows about SIEM because it has all the data you need. You don't need to
Hmm.
silo your sales team away from administrative team. SIEM has all the information you need for your organization.
Hmm.
Um, I just want to say this because I love to repeat this as if you have a system that you're developing for your business process, it grows over time with your business process. So a software Jenga, right? Remember software Jenga? Like, you pull one out and everything else fails. I can name a few companies that has destroyed.
I have many of those.
So do I. I used to work for a company like that.
I can tell you a company that can destroy all of the organization because somebody took that out, right? There's
Hmm.
few software ERP vendors. If you take those ERP vendors out, all your software just goes out the window. I mean, your whole organization just failed because of one software went out. Um, but it's important that you grow an algorithm, you grow a data structure for your business purpose for the future. You want to have historical data that you've collected very well. That's
Hmm.
perfect. But going forward in the future, you need to get away from the software Jenga that is not able to sustain itself because
Hmm.
one of the software vendor has fallen apart and had nothing to do with them, right? It's just something happened on that other software vendor. Uh,
Hmm.
so I just want to put that out there because the software Jenga is what we're trying to avoid. We're trying to build an
Yeah.
AI that is almost a digital twin of your business process. So your business process
Hmm.
relies on that AI to do the business, right? As in, it's built in house, knowing your business process, not from somebody industry specific. It's specific to your business process.
Yeah, I would make one more recommendation, and this is more, it gets down into the weeds, but what happens is, I haven't been approached by different, vendors about AI, but what I would lean towards is any vendor. I think Salesforce has their own cloud, or I'm not sure. I'm pretty sure they have their own cloud. But when it comes to like AWS and Azure, more specifically AWS, and I'm not promoting them, but what they have is they have an easy way, obviously, to move your data to the cloud. I don't know how much of your environment is in the cloud, but they have grown the modeling for AI tremendously.
Yep.
It's just an available API. So even if you don't know anything about AI and machine learning, you can start to develop. Just take your data, drop it into Azure, and they have multiple environments. So you can have your production, different tiers, your production, your pre-production, and your development test. And they don't affect any one of them. They're all separate environments, and you can run as many tests on your data all day, just running tests, just beating it up all day, and it's tests that you're performing at your own leisure, and you're using stuff that's already out there, already developed for forecasting, for clustering, for projections. All that stuff is there now. I know some of the stuff they'll try to sell will give you that data. They'll do it for you, maybe, and that's the big deal, the difference. But if they're working out of AWS or working out of a cloud provider, and they're promoting that angle, I would lean towards that angle, because
That's
that's true to the game from where I come from. That's definitely an advantage. You didn't have that before. and it's out there for you to be able to touch. So everyone sees it. It's not like they've developed some kind of secret sauce and they're heaping the secret Coca-Cola recipe, and we only have it, and this is our custom AI. You want to be able to know that other people have seen it, tested it, and it works.
That's really cool.
Yeah.
This is important because AWS, that ability to have those data that you don't have already and to merge it to like this large enterprise that has all the, like, remember I talked about 501 data set. That's Amazon right there. It's like moving into the gated community and having a neighbor that has a machine learning product. So you move into the gated
I
community.
love your examples. You're awesome.
And you go knock on the next door, be like, "You got machine learning? Can I run that real quick?" That's how easy it is, right? You don't have to
Yeah.
take all your data set, just freaking throw it out the window and plug it in, and it works. And I
Hmm.
can tell you, as simple as data analytics used to be, it's so much simpler today because literally a bunch of files in your desktop can be uploaded to machine learning in AWS SageMaker, and it will start running analytics for you in front of your eyes, and
Hmm.
it will tell you insights that you're like, "Oh, wow."
Yeah.
I just went through one the other day. I'm like, wait, if I just click on that, it will just take that out because it doesn't. Right? Lucky was talking about pruning, right? I was pruning in real time. Like I didn't have to wait the next day to figure out. Like, okay, I just take that data set out. It is amazing.
Well, it's starting to get to the end of the podcast, I think, but I did want to bring one thing up. Again, with the creative side, have you guys seen that they've started releasing? Okay, you guys remember, or have you seen the articles on Dali?
Mm,
Dali,
Dolly,
um,
yeah.
or Deli, Dolly, Deli, depending how you say
DALL.
tomato. I say yeah, exactly. DE, Del E.
Yeah.
It's like Wall E from Disney, Wally,
Wall-E. That's
but
right.
it's I guess it's taking a bite of that. But what this AI does is you install it, and I'm gonna, well, I won't get to I'll get to it, but what these AIs do is that you can give it a couple of words and it creates art like Picasso, like Rembrandt, like it just, you just say, hey, Picasso, bird, field, banana, and boom, you have art that's just unbelievable. And so recently they had this guy that they started this 2 years ago, and now as of this year they just released the binaries, the libraries for it and others like it, Mid Journey, um, Stable Diffusion, and all these AIs do is you install them. It's a little bit of creative work, but that's now they have the process to do it, and you can start creating art. So this one guy did it. He's like, all right, I'm one of the first guys. I'm a developer, and he won an art show with his art with AI. And this is the first AI art show, where his guy gets the blue ribbon of the art
No, no,
show.
no, no. The other contenders did not use AI. It was an
No,
art show. The guy with an AI won the art show.
exactly. He was the only guy with AI, and everybody was upset. But he
Mad.
said, "Hey,"
Everybody was mad.
but he said, "Hey, I was up front. I told everybody I created this AI. The AI made the art."
But I saw the third one and the second one.
Yeah,
I would have picked the first one anyway because AI one was much more detailed than the first, second, and third one. So
yeah. It's amazing, and now you can do it on your own. So I'm thinking by the end of this week, I'm going to be running probably Stable Diffusion, creating art,
that's right.
and claiming it as my own. I hit the enter button. I'm an artist.
Well, isn't there another artist called Dali, like that creates all this weird
Salvador Dali.
Salvador
Yeah,
Dali?
yeah.
So when I think about Dali, I just assume they're calling it Dali because of Salvador Dali. But
Yeah.
I think what AI is doing with not only image, like if okay, Ruth, I gotta invite you to my weekly webinar that I do. So I bring up all these use cases. I talk about latest news. I talk about like what's happening, and one of the things that you simply can understand is that if you have a computer vision like camera, you can do AI. If you have audio system that picks up people's words and is speaking to it or sounds, whatever, you can do AI, right?
Hmm.
But how do you bring those together and create a complete AI is just a complexity that you have to work with, right? Otherwise, it's an AI already given to you. There's audios like Siri and Alexa that can give you audio.
Yeah.
Collect audio all day long you want, and you can use AI technology to provide get those data. but how do you match them for your specific use is all the effort there is. And that's why I'm so excited about the organic AI that you build in house rather than rely on somebody from outside. If
Hmm.
somebody from outside has their own intentions, that is not yours.
Yeah.
Yes.
So I always, promote that and cheer for that.
Hmm. I agree.
I love
Go
it. So
for it.
start investing in headcount that builds our own AI is what I'm hearing.
Do all the things that are starting today. Yes.
Hmm. Yeah. I would, because you're gonna get a bunch of the guys that are trying to say that they're doing stuff that the reality they're probably not, and you don't want to spend any cycles. I have Booz Allen Hamilton wasting. Well, I shouldn't say that. Working with us, and we're spending a lot of cycles, doing things that I know in some cases we could do different, but you don't want somebody telling you how to run your own business. I've seen that quite a bit where they not one vendor or another, but they step in and all of a sudden you're following their lead.
Mhm.
And how do they know what your best intentions are, except for the fact that, you've paid them to have your best intentions? And the reality is no one's going to know what you need better than you,
True.
to support your organization. And that's tough to come by. You can give requirements, say, look, these are our requirements, but there's not, at the end of the day, you own it, you develop it, you're more in tune with it.
So, Ruth, what do you think of all the things that went in between me, Lucky, and you? And, like, are you feeling excited or are you down by the AI? Are you like, come on, let's
No,
just give up?
Ah,
Ah,
AI.
no,
ay,
I
ay, ay,
it
ay.
really it really does excite me about the future. I learned a lot from this podcast, so thank you so much for having me. It honestly opened my eyes. I thought we were a little bit further along with AI and machine learning, or at least I had hoped with how many vendors I'm seeing that are starting to talk about this.
Hmm.
On one hand, it certainly is still a buzzword, and a lot of companies aren't doing it. But I'm seeing more and more of it.
Hmm.
So I'm really excited for what the next 3 to 5 years looks like from the vendor perspective and that true
Hmm.
AI perspective.
Well, Lucky, I know you are excited, and I hear Ruth is excited, and you know me, I've been always like that guy that fell in love with AI as soon as the day I learned what data is. Thank you so much, Ruth. Thank you so
Yes,
much
thank you.
for giving me that lift
Hmm.
and boost that I needed in the middle of the week until I get to Friday and have my weekend. Um, until then, ay, 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 ay.
Definitely. I'm gonna let you win that one.
Ruth, bring it.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
All right. I'm going to stop the recording now.